Say yes every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your
Thank you for
guide.
joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today is a very special day because we have the incredible Kahren Oxner. She is the regional manager for the Pacific Northwest at U Mortgage. Karin and I met each other. God, I think the first time we met in person, it was actually at a U Mortgage event, and we sat at the same table.
Oh,
And
that's
what I
right.
remember about that, we were the Little Rascals, right? Wasn't that our team name? We
Yeah,
were the Little
you're
Rascals.
right.
And
Good memory.
and we got to know each other. We had a lot of fun with that. And I've been watching Karin just shine brightly and really just grow over these last couple of years. So I am so interested in hearing all of your great words of wisdom with our
Oh,
audience, Karin. All right. So to kick us
thank
off,
you.
of course. So to kick us off, the first question is, please share with us, what would you say is one of the best pieces of advice that you have ever received? And by all means, if it came from an individual, please share and give a shout out.
Oh, I love it. So the interesting thing about how I think many of us got into this industry was almost by accident. So I entered the industry 23 years ago, and it was actually through a friend of mine was purchasing a home, and her uncle was actually her loan officer. And so I got to know, the family and through the process. And I saw his name's Todd Johnson. He's a dear friend of mine to this day. I saw the way he interacted, and he was so fun, and he was always like driving around in fancy cars and doing all this great stuff. But at the end of the day, he was helping so many people achieve this dream. And so I don't necessarily know if it was a piece of advice, but I studied people very closely, always.
Hmm.
I've always been really interested in people and humans and what drives them and what gives them, passion and what makes them happy. And, just Todd was one of those people that was just always positive, always, just had so many others around him and was really influencing others in a really positive way. And there were several individuals like that I met early on in my career that I looked at and went, man, I want to be just like this person. Lori Bennett was another one. She was this, wonderful, warm, smart, kind, beautiful woman that ran one of the biggest subprime wholesalers in Oregon at the time. And she did it with such grace and poise and warmth, and was highly successful and lived in a beautiful home and just was always completely put together. And so I don't know if it was advice as much as it was, looking at others and going, that's where I want to be. And I guess if anything, it's like I've always said, you're the exact average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I wanted to be in those rooms with those people, learning how they got to be where they are and what drives them and what makes them successful, because that was what was important to me. Like, I always wanted to be successful, but I wanted to do it in a way that was graceful and warm and kind, and always looking out for, thinking, and kind of bringing others up. And I saw, these people early on in my career that did this so effortlessly and beautifully that, that's always what I wanted to do. And it really just
I
has
love
driven
it.
every decision that I've ever made, as far as professionally, but also personally.
I think I'm thinking of a couple of things as you're saying that, right? So number one, I mean, kudos to Todd and Lori, and thank goodness that they showed up in your life to
Yeah.
kind of show you that this is a great path for you, right? And it's interesting, the last interview I just did, right, the episode before you, she
Uh-huh.
said something very similar. And she said exactly, very, very close to what you said, of someone that she recognized was a cut above the best,
Yeah.
someone that always did a little bit, let's call it extra, right? Always went that little extra.
One more thing.
Yes.
One more thing. Yep.
Whether it was the handwritten note, whether it was the kind
Yes.
word, whether it was sitting next to you and teaching you something, right? Whatever that little extra is. And as I hear this and as I'm kind of thinking about this, I'm kind of looking at it from two standpoints, right? So yes, thankfully you ran across a couple of excellent people, and I'm sure there's more than just
so
those
many
two.
more.
But what I'm curious about is, well, two things. I'm gonna save the second part of the question for the next. But how many times, Kahren, have you seen the flip side where maybe we don't show people that are new to the industry, and I'm not speaking about our inner circles, but in the industry, sometimes maybe we scare some away because people may see some of the things that might not be shining the right direction in what we do, right? So one thing I'd like to know is, how do we make sure that we continue to shine that light for people that are newer to the industry, or people that are just starting out in our industry, or the veterans in our industry that maybe they've gotten complacent, or maybe they've gotten a little beaten up the last couple of years in a difficult market, and they kind of need to come out of that. And then the second part of the question is, how are you taking all of that you learned when you first started out and applying it to this current situation? Because I really want to know, number one, how do you deal with keeping people in the right frame of mind? How to make it so they're seeing all of the great things we do for the families we help and the communities that we're changing lives in? How do we do that, Kahren?
You know, the interesting thing is the world is filled with so much, and some of it's negative and heavy, and some of it's really fantastic and wonderful and beautiful. And the great news is that we have a choice what we, pay attention to and what we let influence us. And it's impossible to keep that perfect mindset all of the time. But it's also important to remember that we don't control anything but this right here. Like that face that looks at you in the mirror every morning is literally the only thing that you have any control over, right? I mean, there's influence, there's things, but real control, that's it. So forgetting about the things that you have no control over, like I can't control the market, I can't control, other people, I can't control, what people do or say or how they think about me. And the other funny thing is that you all should remember is people think about you far less than you think that they do. So to move forward in anything that you're doing, whether it's mortgage related or any other career or just life in general, like don't worry so much about those things. Really focus on the things that you can control, which are your mindset, the way that you're showing up in people's lives every day, the way that you're taking care of yourself on every level, from self-care and getting enough sleep to learning and educating yourself and growing to being kind to being friendly. Like I want every single interaction with every person that I come into contact with to be positive. I want them to go, she really made me feel good. And those are the things that I can control regardless of what is going on in the world, and really taking proactive steps to remember that, every day is not perfect, and that's okay. Like finding joy and pleasure and little blessings in very small things it's important. And that's not even necessarily mortgage industry related, but this industry will chew you up and spit you out if you let it. and that is one thing that I see in successful people that I look up to, regardless if they've been in the, industry for 30 years or 2 minutes, is that resiliency and that ability to really look inside and go, you know what, I had a really rough day, but it doesn't matter how many times I fall down. It's that I get up, I keep getting up, and I keep trying, and I keep working hard, and I maintain that mindset of, positivity and just hopefulness for, any interaction in any situation. talking to home buyers, the last couple of years have been really, really challenging. People that wanted to become homeowners and, couldn't because of the interest rate environment or whatever it was. And making sure that I'm constantly reassuring and I'm constantly like, hey, this is our plan. This is our long-term plan. And let's keep our eye on the prize and the goal. And this is why. And I am right here with you. And just really kind of maintaining that positivity, because I can control my mindset, I can control my attitude, I can control the self-talk, and that's it. Like, I can't control anything else. So I think that's
true.
just really, really important for people to remember. And that's true for any industry, really.
So I'm going to go back to one of the first things you started saying when you answered that. You said, I want to let everybody know, don't think people are really worrying about you. So that is so true, that if you read book after book and psychological analysis
Yes.
of things, most of the time we are concerned about ourselves. And that's not being selfish. It's just, we're like, how do I look? How do I sound?
Yeah.
Do I know this? What will they think of me? How will I do?
Yeah.
Am I good? It's that self-talk that's
And
constantly
women
happening.
in particular do that, I think, more so than our male counterparts. And the bottom line is, if you are so hyper self-aware that it's holding you back from doing this, doing this podcast or sharing that social media video or going to that conference or speaking at an event on stage, if you're not a little bit uncomfortable, maybe even a lot uncomfortable, you're not learning, you're not growing. Like, we can't grow with just being totally comfortable and perfect with everything that we do 100% of the time. That means we're stagnant and we're stuck. And that's my first clue to myself when I'm feeling that way is I haven't stepped outside my comfort zone in way too long. Like, I need to stretch, I need to get uncomfortable. And in that is so much growth. And guess what? It's not going to be perfect. And
No.
to that initial point, people don't care. They're really not as critical of you as you are to yourself. So just let it go and try it. Be a little uncomfortable, because guess what? That's where the growth comes from. That's where the learning comes from. That's how we progress and evolve. And it's just critical.
It's so much fun if we just, but where I always like to think about is, I'd like to think about a baby. All of us, we were all babies at one point. And when we decided that we were going to try to get upright, we were going to try to take some steps.
Yeah.
Not one baby in the entire world said, I tried that once. It didn't work out. I'm just gonna crawl for the rest of my life.
It's not for me. So true.
I tried it once. I give up. It's not happening. And you know what? Every single time that baby takes one little step, we're sitting there clapping and cheering and celebrating. Why is it that as we become adults, all of a sudden we are going, oh, I tried once, I made a video, I didn't look great, I didn't sound great, so that's it. I give up.
I'm done.
I'm not doing it again.
I'm not good at it.
Not good at it. Someone else is good at it. I don't have the right camera. I don't have the right microphone. I don't have the right editing tools, so I give up.
Yeah. I could never be this person, so I'm never doing that again. That was terrible.
Exactly. Have fun with it. Learn from the children that are out there every single day. Here we are. I think I was at a party and there was a baby like playing with a ball or something. And every single time the baby would just grab the ball, everyone would cheer and celebrate. And I turned to everyone and I go, okay, I think we should be doing this every time one of us does something.
Totally.
Could you imagine what we would be like as humans if we had a cheering squad? You did great at work today. You helped this many families. You took this many calls. You helped that realtor, whatever.
Yes.
When you feel that way, you're unstoppable.
Totally.
You're absolutely unstoppable.
Well, and it's here, right? And until we do things a few times and practice and get into our groove, it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable all the time, but if I let that hold me back from trying and putting that out there, I look at social media videos that I did yesterday and I'm like, ugh. You know?
Don't, I have to tell you, I won't even look at mine. I
I
literally, it
totally
goes up
agree.
and I won't even look at it. I'm like,
Yep.
nope, if I look, I will literally take it down.
Yep,
So I'm not
yep,
looking.
it's so true. And in fact, I do anything I do on social media is like one take wonder. If
Me
I
too.
can't do the video or share the message the first time, like if I try and do it again, it just gets worse.
I
So
agree.
I put it down. I think about the message that I really want to deliver, and then I do it later. Like or sometimes I don't, but you know, I don't try to make it perfect, because also people want to see your authentic self. I was, listening to a podcast, I don't know how long ago now, but they were talking about vibration and energy, and they were saying, you'd think that like the highest frequency on earth would be, what would you think it would be? Love,
Alpha.
right?
Oh, okay. You're going that route. I would think it would be love. Yes.
You think it would be love, and that's actually couldn't be. It's not true. So the highest frequency on earth is not love; it's authenticity.
Oh.
And I found that so interesting, but that makes so much sense, and you can
It does.
tell the second you meet someone if they're authentic. And so when you are sharing and you're being vulnerable and you're being open and you're not perfect, like nobody wants to see perfection. We're so filtered and we're so perfect and scripted, and people don't want to see that. They want to see authenticity. They want to know who you are. So I just think that's a really important thing to remember as well, because taking action and doing something is the most important thing, and you'll get better as you practice.
And
And
then once you get better at that, do something new.
yeah,
Then
get
get out of
uncomfortable
your comfort
again,
zone
because
again.
we hopefully we don't ever want to stop evolving and
Yep.
growing. And if the second we master something, like that should be our cue to level up and start mastering something else.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was just having this conversation with someone, and they were asking me a question about something, and I was about to answer, and the person like stopped me, and they answered it for me, and they answered it different than I would have, but it was right on. And the person said, "Well, Laura, the reason why you did that is because you outgrew it." And I went, "Oh my goodness, that's true." But I wasn't thinking that. I would have never answered the question that way. But someone else saw it from a different perspective, and they said, "Well, Laura, it made perfect sense. You
Yeah,
evolved because you had progressed and you outgrew that
yeah,
situation to challenge yourself to a new situation."
totally.
And I was like, yes, that is true. But it took someone else
Yeah.
saying it to me. I didn't even realize that. So that's what we do. We're like
Mhm.
caterpillars. We get to a certain
Yep.
point and we outgrow our own skin. We outgrow ourselves and we turn into a metamorphosis of something else.
And then there's a new chapter of lessons to learn. And that's the beautiful thing about life, is that hopefully we're on this journey to continue to evolve and help people along the way and have these experiences. But anytime I'm feeling stuck, I pause and then look and go, it's time for me to try something new and get a little uncomfortable again. And you should do that. And if you are trying something new and you feel uncomfortable, a lot of people and a lot of women that I talk to, like that, they go, "Oh, I better practice more. I better study more. I better learn more. I better know more before I march forward." And I think exactly opposite. I think
I
that's the
agree.
moment where you go, "Nope, I'm gonna give it a try and keep going, and I'm gonna figure it out." Because you will
Mhm.
figure it out. We'll figure
You
it
will.
out.
You will. And for the women's side, I always find that if you have a group You know, if you have a
Yeah.
few friends, a few colleagues, a trusted couple, it doesn't have to be 50 people. It can be
No.
one or two. You know, if you have, try it out with them. Like, you
Yeah.
know, because usually they will say, if there's someone that you truly can trust, they'll give you an honest opinion of go, just, you know, tweak this. It was perfect here. Go for it. I'm celebrating you. And then usually by that point, you're like, I got it. Now I can
Or
go
you'll
and
have your
tell everyone.
cheerleading squad, like you said, and then you'll
Yes.
just maybe get that little bit of extra confidence to go out there and give it a shot. I couldn't agree
Exactly.
more.
Exactly. All right, Kahren. Oh my God, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much. This is
But we
wonderful.
could do this all day long.
We can.
You
But
and
this
I.
is but this is what people need. You know, people need to get this infusion. And I will tell you, you know, I love this podcast because I always say, yes, I'm doing it to promote the guests and have you share your voice, but man, I get so much
Oh,
from
totally.
hearing all these insights, right? And being poured into. And every single time I speak to someone, it makes me reflect. It makes
Yeah.
me think about all these valuable words that you're sharing, and it resonates with me, every single voice that I hear. So thank you for sharing your wisdom,
Aw.
because I promise you, there's many people out there that are going to hear this and go, yeah, she's speaking to me. Like that, she's
Thanks.
speaking directly to me. So thank you.
I feel the same way about you. And I just, it's so interesting to just look at all of the people and their different backgrounds and where they've come from and their experiences. And we've all kind of come to this place with a very different, you know, story. And I mean, that's how I started my career. And that's what I do to this day is like, I'm fascinated with people's stories. I want to really know. And that's another thing that really bonds you with others. And I think I've been so grateful and so blessed to have so many of these conversations where we live across the country from somebody and I've picked up the phone several times and you're right there and we just reconnect and can, you know, help each other and feed into one
A
another. And
beautiful thing. And
it's
we
really
need
special.
that, Kahren, as humans, we are meant
Totally.
to be on this earth to be together.
Yeah.
We are not meant to be alone. We are not meant to try to figure out life. It literally takes a village. It takes a village to raise a kid. It takes a village for adults to get through life. It takes a village. We
So
have to
true.
have our village to help us through life. That is part of being human, right? That is, forget about men,
Yes.
women, it doesn't, human. We all need to be around others, right?
Totally.
All right. Wrap us up, my friend, with your piece of advice that you would like to share.
Wow. Well, we've covered a lot of topics today. And I think, you know, the biggest takeaway that I have learned, I mean, I just got back from vacation last week. I went to Kauai for the week and it was kind of a spur of the moment trip. My parents got a condo and they couldn't get a 1-bedroom and they got a 2-bedroom and they just said, why don't you join us? And you know, immediately I was like, oh gosh, no, I have so much to do. I've got so much going on. I just don't know if it's the right time. And I stopped myself, Laura, and said yes. The door opened. I walked through it, said yes, figured it all out, got an easy, great direct flight, had a wonderful time, came back just so relaxed, so much better. And I guess my big piece of advice is, say yes, walk through the door, give yourself the opportunity to, you know, take that time to really reflect. And, you know, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I always say, if you ever are feeling slow in this business, go on vacation because you'll get more applications and more opportunities.
Everything will happen at that moment, the minute you go on vacation.
Oh, totally. But just slow down. Like the world is so fast and there's so much coming at us and there's social media and there's all these expectations. And I really just think that, you know, simplify, slow down, say yes to the things that, you know, feel right and go for it. You know, I mean, there's just, this is a fantastic business. There's opportunity in every single market. There's always somebody that emerges and finds this like really amazing, different way to do business where they just can become extremely, incredibly successful no matter what is going on, even when others are struggling. And my only point to that is there is opportunity everywhere, and we have to be open to it. We have to say yes to it. We've got to, just also really slow down so that we can see some of those opportunities, because sometimes we just move so fast that, things pass us by.
I completely agree. And listen, before we started recording, you said, I feel great. I feel refreshed. I feel invigorated. My team were rock stars like you knew they were going to be. So you were able to come back and tell them, how wonderful they are, which again just continues that human wonderful connection of celebration of that. Sometimes we need to get out of our own way. Sometimes we have to just stop thinking everything is revolving around us.
Yeah.
And allow us to step back a moment. And I shared this just yesterday. I was telling a story that I went to get my hair done yesterday, and this girl said to me, "So Laura, what's been going on since I saw you?" And I was like, boom, 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 like I rattled off all this stuff. And in that moment, I kind of had an out-of-body experience going, what do these people think with all the things I just rattled off, right? And I sat there, Kahren, really like sat there going, wow, Laura, that's pretty damn awesome that you have all those things going on. Why don't you take a moment and actually be grateful and thankful for that?
And proud of yourself.
Because I never stopped to actually think that.
Yes. And give yourself credit for all the wonderful things and going, man, I did that.
Instead, we're just running to the next thing.
To the next thing, the next thing, the next thing.
To the next thing. So that
slow down.
Yes, slow down. That moment where you were able to make those memories with your parents and spend that time in beautiful Hawaii, that allowed you to get outside of yourself, out of your routine. It allowed you to see the world a different way. And when you came back refreshed and invigorated and proud of your team, all of that wonderful ripple would have never happened if you didn't stop and do that.
And it allowed them to emerge in this really beautiful way. I mean, they're like, do not answer the phone. Do not do, they're like, just stepping up in this. Yeah, we got it. And doing things, differently and better than I would do it. And, allowing them to emerge as leaders and as creative thinkers and to solve problems and to have the authority, but also the space to do that. It was awesome.
A gift all around.
Highly recommend.
So to everyone out there listening, take that to heart. I know, it may be like, oh, I know that. No, you don't. Because every one of us in this business, we have all said, no, I can't. It's not the right time. This, that. We can come up with a million excuses. Every one of us can. But what we don't realize is, number one, if you lead a team, you're doing a disservice to your team to not allow them to step up. And you're also doing a disservice to yourself and your family, because you will be renewed and you will come back better and stronger for your family, for your clients, for the borrowers you're going to help. So take it to heart. Really take it to heart.
Yeah.
All right, Kahren. Thank you so much, my friend, for sharing all of your wisdom. This was absolutely fabulous, and we wish you all the best always.
Well, thank you so much. I always love connecting with you, and you're just such a bright light, and you are somebody that I look up to a great deal. And I've really enjoyed our friendship and our partnership over the years. And I can't wait to see you again. Thank you.
Enjoy. Bye.